from Ashley. Like, hey, you're 1 minute late. So, all right, we will call the meeting to order. We will start off with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a quorum. We have the consent agenda. Does anybody want anything pulled or reviewed for the consent agenda? If no, we just need a motion to approve.
With that consent agenda, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up, we got the department head reports. We got township assistance and human resources. Hold, please.
Month of May, township assistance was down just a little bit. Number of interviews was only 13 for the month, as opposed to we were in the 20s there for a while, but things are still going strong and steady, and everything looks good there. Any questions about township assistance?
Sorry.
Okay. Human resources. We did have 130 new hires in the month of May. 2 paramedics and 128 summer staff between pool and camps. It was a huge month, long month, but we got through it all.
Good.
Any other questions about human resources?
We do not.
Thank you.
Next up, parks.
All right. Some great things happening at Murphy Aquatic Park. I mentioned to you in the beginning that we had done some extra training this year on working with individuals who have special needs for our lifeguards, making it a more inclusive place, and looking at Murphy Aquatic Park holistically and how we can improve from year to year. And we are seeing the return on this. So I did want to mention some of the things that we have seen here lately. I put this sheet on your desk right here. The first one up at the top is a message that we got from one of our campers at the Chrisamore House, mentioning to our concession staff how nice they are and how happy they are to feel included. Another message over here is from Embracing Abilities. Delaney Albin was a camp counselor of ours in the past, and now she's a supervisor over at Embracing Abilities. She said, I hope you're having a great start to summer. I just wanted to take a second and let you know that Murphy staff is amazing. I work with Embracing Abilities now, and we come every Tuesday. I had a kiddo who wanted to go down the slide but wasn't wanting to get out of the pool once he got down. But the guards were so patient, and one of them even offered to try and help get him out. It makes our hearts so happy. Then you can see right over here, this is a Facebook post from Elijah's Bucket List. We worked in conjunction with Visit Hendricks County, specifically Josh Duke. And Elijah's Bucket List, Elijah has a rare disease where it is terminal, so they are trying to check everything off on their bucket list, and Murphy was one of their stops. It reads, this felt like a whole chapter in Elijah's baby bucket list got checked off at once. It was our first time in a wave pool, our first time at a water park, and our first time using a beach wheelchair. And we got to do it all at a Murphy Aquatic Park in Hendricks County, a place that didn't just welcome us, but saw us. And so I just wanted to mention some of the stuff that we see day to day that you may not notice at Murphy Aquatic Park. We really have created an atmosphere where everyone feels included and everyone is playing and belonging together. It kind of just, sometimes I like to go out on the deck and just see everyone playing in conjunction with each other, just to kind of see the impact that it does have on our community. And that's something that we've brought to Hendricks County and to Avon. So I wanted to mention some of these things that we're seeing just in these first couple of weeks. That training has really brought us up to that next level of service to our community. We're also seeing higher attendance than we've seen in the past. Our season pass numbers are where they were that first year at Murphy Aquatic Park, and our attendance is double what it was last year at Murphy Aquatic Park. So we really are seeing that drive up. What we can tell is really that huge push we put on our marketing department and that huge push that we have out there reaching out to our community at Murphy Aquatic Park. Next, we've got P-Car Park. We have finished our Wild World of Nature series. We have all 12 months covered, and we finished our first Wild World of Nature series by having the Whale Mobile come out to the Pavilion Center. We had a huge turnout for that, and that was really exciting. We are starting our Junior Master Naturalist Camp next week, and our own Maddie Fuquay has done the murals at P-Car Park. She's done a pollinator mural and also a prairie grass mural. And this mural teaches kids just how effective prairie grasses are versus our normal bluegrass that we have planted everywhere and how that root system contributes to. And so Maddie did that out of the kindness of her heart. She spent a lot of time on that. So I encourage you guys to come out and take a look at those murals. Our programming department is sitting at 8,000 ducks that have been donated, and they are 2,000 away from their 10,000 goal. And so we are hoping to crush that goal this year and have more ducks than we've ever had in the past. Ryan has been reaching out to everybody. He's even got Holiday World tickets donated to us. We tried to get their 32-foot inflatable duck, but I don't know if we can get that approved in this short a time frame. But we're still going to try. And then also we have finalized our summer concert series. We did our last concert on Sunday, and the sun came out just in time for that concert. We were able to have it on time. So that was really exciting. Our maintenance staff has been working hard on our putt-putt. So we'll be opening our putt-putt next week. We're excited to unveil that to the community. We put some really cool finishing touches on it. It's going to be really fun to see, and so we'll be going live on our social media, and then we have some of our camp kids that are going to play on it for the first time. And then our camp program. Our camp program is going strong. We have Lily Camp. Our numbers are all the way up to the 300. Our camp numbers for swim camp are the highest that they've been in a very long time, maxing out at 15 kids. So we're excited about the direction of youth services. And in July is when we're going to do our big push for hiring for EEC, but we have a lot of returners this year. So that's exciting news. And we'll be working with the Avon Education Foundation for their back to school night. Next, we have our social media. So like I mentioned, we have a big social media presence. Our numbers for TikTok and our regular page are climbing every single day. People are really liking the new website and the functionality of it. And not only that, we were able to upload our summer recreation guide. And if you follow our TikTok page, you may see a few shares that we've done with some of our workers who are there too. They love to make TikToks. And if they're appropriate enough, we will share them on our page. So that's all I have for everybody. Do you have any questions for me? Okay, our goal moving into next year is we're hoping to get more water wheelchairs so that we can host the annual gathering for the World of Wheels organization. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, fire.
I'm going to say I'm going to be brief. Do you believe me? I'll do my best. Recruits are finishing their final phase. They graduate tomorrow night. You guys should have received some information on that. Love to have you there if you can be there. It's going to start at 6 o'clock. Obviously, doors will open earlier. I probably failed to put that down, so everybody will show at 6 o'clock. But either way, it's going to happen. Whether we start at 6 o'clock or 6:30, we're gonna get them graduated. But anyway, we're really proud of this group. They have not found their way in my office throughout the whole academy. I did find my way to them for one of them. It was more to prove a point because they kind of need to see that through recruit class to know that there's some seriousness in their actions. But they are a very boring group, which boring is good. The last group was pretty animated. So I hope they complement each other and grow the department the way they need to. The message shared with them this morning is our department's not growing, it's evolving, but it's only going to evolve through their growth. So the people are going to grow. They're the ones that are going to push, and that's what's expected of them. And I think we have a really disciplined group. When I call them boring, I mean, boring is good and that they do their job. And they have done their job throughout. So also we've started ramping up our efforts from the architectural firms for Station 142. We can maybe discuss some of that later during public comment if you guys want. It is on the agenda. Never mind. We're going to talk about it soon, right after I get done here. But either way, yeah, for a reason. Maybe we talked about that. Yeah. We're going to cancel that vacation per attorney, right? But anyway, no, we've been working on that. Appreciate Steve being present for all those. Staff's updated nearly 30 policies. I put that in there. The policy manual in a lot of fire departments is a lot of times written for people and their specific qualifications. The hopes that we can get this done is the job descriptions and the policies are going to be written for the department, not the people in it. It's there for the guardrails of the people, not so people can have special positions based on some special cert they went to get. I like to believe we're all special in our own way, especially me. So, but with that said, we've really pushed to modernize various policies as well as removing the liabilities. A lot of our policies put liabilities on us, which that's not what the policy manual is meant for. It's meant to remove those. So we've really been pushing through every one of those. The job descriptions have been put before the merit board. So the merit board's approved all those. We talked about that early on because they used to come before you all. Any of the other policies we've changed, we're in constant conversation with Ashley and sometimes to the point where she just shuts her door when I come across the hallway, but it's working out and we're making it happen. We're 1 month into the operation of Station 145. Stay tuned. We're trying to figure out the billing for some of our utilities. It's been somewhat interesting, but yeah, hopefully these new stations that are supposed to be more energy efficient prove to be more energy efficient. The first bills don't say as much, but we'll get that all figured out. Fire training, I don't have anything. They've been busy wrapping up this class. Chief Huff also teaches dive, and he's one of the few single-digit dive instructors in the country that actually teach other dive instructors. So he's been around in Hawaii and even over at IFD recently doing that. So yeah, he did not have a report to put in. What I do know is he's been running the recruit class, and that's going pretty well, and that's his job, and he's been doing his job. Other than that, we'll catch up later on. EMS has done, continues to do, and has done a great job. Chief Weiniger has recently worked with Hendricks to finish out our competencies and ensure compliance with hospital affiliation standards. Also introduced a new butterfly bag valve mask to crews to replace existing stock as inventory is depleted, to provide a universal platform of ventilating infants, pediatric, and adults instead of having separate bags for each. Now it's all wrapped into one, so we don't have expense times 3. We have expense times 1 to be able to use on all 3. So again, another way to drive down cost and utilize things efficiently. Additional advantage includes improved control of ventilation rate, tidal volume delivery, and which supports consistent patient care and reduces the risk of hyperventilation. The rest of that I'm not going to jump into. You guys can read it. It's out there for everybody to digest. I will say, though, we've been working closely with Avon Police, certifying all their guys in CPR before they go to ILEA for their training. Again, that's just the community partnership that we would expect. that's always a fun competition with them and among them. Who was the winner this year? Doug, pretty easily or no? Okay. Doug's a former law enforcement officer and also was certified to teach firearms, so not fair. Moving into pub ed, CPR, she had 7 people that's picked up because of the schools. The schools right now, we brought in $210 in revenue. Is that significant? No, but we did recently change some of our prices. It used to be $5 for a teacher. That was no longer covering our expense, so we did revamp prices, so we're not paying to certify people. Anyway, the outreach, 350 students reached through the visits, plus with special events, another 1,500 people reached. That's the importance of everything in pub ed, is are we actually reaching out and educating the public. And Courtney's done a good job staying busy with that, hitting the tours up, being present for everything, managing her time wisely, in and out of work to make sure she's getting things done, but not overreaching herself. And Chief Phipps and Levi do a good job managing that to make sure that that she is actually getting her hours in. But that's not a concern with our people. Sometimes you'll come in and she's not available because she's doing a weekend event. And again, that presence and the willingness to be at all these, I do appreciate that, because in the past, when I first started, sometimes that was a bit of a push and an argument instead of an expectation that was actually carried out. So some of our changes in staff have been positive. As you go to the emergency operations monthly report, the only thing I'm going to tell you is, one, on our runs, year to date, we've done 3,500 runs. That's minus 55 from last year. So we're starting to catch up. That was minus 100 to 150. Also, as you look at Engine 141, Engine 145, Medic 141, Medic 145, up top and down at the bottom on the year-to-date report, those need to be added together, because right now those are one and the same until the recruit class gets out. And in July, we'll start pushing to put the other engine in and bring the other engine back to 1s. So we did rob Peter and pay Paul to put 5s in operation just for a month until this class graduates. And then we'll put the other engine in service and truly have expanded our service to the community. Are there any questions on that part? We are going to weigh some of the run volumes to decide if we are in the right deployment model as far as medics go. Right now, we have everything surrounding Station 1, so the medics will converge on any needs in that area, because not everything's needed right on 36, so they can respond from the north and the south and converge down any north-south thoroughfare to get to 36 where the emergency is, which right now is probably a good idea with all the construction. So, but we are going to watch those runs and kind of see how 5s and 3s works together, and then decide what we need in that area. Any questions there? Mutual aid continues to be a topic of concern. It's come up in other board meetings. Avon's been brought up in neighboring departments. And I say that proudly just because, we do go to those places. Now, some of their elected officials are starting to see that. Got a call last night about 9:00 from a neighboring department's, one of their elected officials, asking how much mutual aid we do, how many EMS runs we take from them, how many transports we take from them, and how much money I think that impacts them. Whenever you're calling other departments to get the answers, that's because your people aren't giving them. So just understand, we're going to continue working hard for our people, but it's about working with the community and pushing everybody around us to keep up and work just as hard for their people. So if I'm answering those questions, understand I'll be making phone calls to ask them to be able to answer their own questions from now forward. Any questions there? I'm ready for finance. Is the next thing the billing? They go over that. I don't go over that. They went through that with Steph. I let them go over that on their own. I just screwed up the summary I wanted, and it's still on my computer in a Word doc, I'm sure. He was captivated.
Anybody have any questions? No, still no. All right. We'll move on to old business fire. We got the potential discussion over architect selection.
Yeah, so we went through them. We came down to 3 out of the 5. Still have to send some info out. We looked at Dewberry out of Chicago, Access Architecture, which we just finished working with, Studio Access, and the other one was Delve, who was involved with Station 4. We pretty much landed on a selection? Is that something we bring out in public?
Exercise for them. Yeah. So we interviewed 5. Of the 5, we decided on those 3 you just mentioned. The other 2, one really didn't have much fire department experience at all. The other one was more interested in building the firehouse more than designing it by all accounts, what I own there. Sent out a pricing exercise to all 3. Thought the numbers would come back a lot closer than they did. One was close to $1 million, which was really high. One was about 600 plus, and then one was 490. So we were going with the one that had a better relationship with, and also pricing. So
Some of the things we like about Axis, which is who it's going to be that we're going to reach out to, assuming we move forward with this, is the team where it was flawed that created issues and headaches for Chief Phipps, but later created headaches for me once I understood what the headaches were. Once he interpreted it, they put a new team together, and they did that on their own, unprompted, because the things we were frustrated with were also things that were giving them a headache, and that was something I think we all keyed up on in the interviews. Would you agree with that, Steve?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. So that was the big thing, is as they came in, they all had something that was pretty intriguing from each of the 3 we talked to. One of them had all of their resources from engineering and so forth in house. Another one had been familiar with us through Delve, had been familiar with us through Station 4, and we thought they would come back a little more competitive. And the things that we were frustrated with Axis, they self-corrected on their own. So the fact that they self-corrected, the architecture firm itself was great. It was the outside contractors they used for everything else that were a little frustrating, and they fixed all that. Anything else?
I'm assuming the design would be very similar to what 5 was.
Very similar footprint, yes. The outside, that's where the cost savings will come. Still going to be steel and mortar. That's the idea. I don't know that we save a ton by going to wood, but I know we will create expense because it'll need redone or remodeled sooner, and probably have more flaws down the road sooner. But I think we can save money to get inside the dollar amounts we've talked about and stay in that 7-figure range versus going to adding another digit. If we remodel some of the roof and some of the architecture on the outside of the building.
Just trying to understand kind of where the expense of design comes from and the footprint's the same.
That was the thing that scratched our head too, and they leaned to site, but like Chief Phipps told them, a lot of that dirt right there. I mean, we know there's going to be pushing $500,000 in site work, we would say, right?
there's a lot more site work.
And
It's a lot of the design side work. It's not the work of the side work.
That's correct. I understand.
Level.
Yeah. And we've already done a lot of the drilling and a lot of the things that they want as far as site exploration. Access had an understanding of that. He provided this in the exercise we did to show, hey, here's everything we have. Here's what we're looking at. This is the footprint. Here's the actual overlay of the property. So he handed them everything in this exercise. But what we did is worded it as such and said, this will be a non-binding exercise, assuming these things, which are subject to change in the actual design. But we want to see your process, your pricing, and how you would come back in this based on all of these knowns. And then you can assume some of the unknowns for the exercise. So that way it put them on the same playing field. They all had all the same information and their prices came back where they were at. So, yeah. All good?
Mhm.
All right.
Okay, new business, fiscal plan presentation.
Thank you all. For the record, Jeff Peters from Peters Franklin. Since we last visited and did the update a year ago, we've had another legislative session. And two of the biggest points that happened during the legislative session is the income tax that was supposed to be adopted in the summer of 27 and affect 28 revenues has now been kicked back a year. So it's not going to occur until the summer of 28 for revenues in 2029. The other significant thing that came out of this year's legislation in relation to you has to do with the distribution of those income taxes. And last year, as we walked through, there was no clear determination that your department would be eligible for a distribution of the fire and EMS local income tax. However, legislative changes now puts you in the pool of you will get a distribution, but only if the county council makes a distribution for fire and EMS. Assuming they do, I think your staff has had interactions with county council and feels that they will go forward with a fire and EMS tax and potentially at the 0.4, which is the maximum. In the fiscal plan that we gave you for the update for 2026, we left the same formula in place as 2025. The legislation in 2026 threw out that formula as mandatory and left it wide open for the county council to decide how they're going to allocate fire and EMS lit, and the county can now also be included in that distribution formula. But the formula that was produced in 2025 was based on population and service area. That is still a viable formula if the county council were to choose it. So having no better alternative, we left it in there, and it kind of shows you how that falls out. The legislation does require the county council, if they impose a fire and EMS lit, to consider population and service area. They don't have to base it on that, but they have to at least have that consideration when they develop their formula. Some changes on the fiscal plan for 2025 to 2026. Obviously, we laid in the actuals and the budgets for 2026. Had a really interesting impact on what the school did in 2025. They cut their overall rate, and I think they did that by, one, not renewing some debt that they had, but then they also upped their referenda rate from like 14 cents to 21 cents or something like that. So they significantly upped the referenda rate, which allows those taxes to be above and beyond where the 1%, 2%, and 3% tax caps hit. So it made a huge change in the circuit breaker losses for you and everybody else in that pool, because now the library's rate is smaller in general, and of the rate they have there, it's not subject to the tax cap. So it actually cut down the circuit breaker and helped you out quite a bit in the net collection of property tax dollars versus what we had projected in last year's model. The other good component that we saw from last year to this year, your income tax collections in Hendricks County were up about 8.3%. So that helps your distribution of income taxes going forward. The park expansion that was planned in the 25 plan for 2027 has been removed. And as we look at the overall income from the fire side, and remember what we did on this fiscal plan was at the time the new income tax rates are to come into effect, because part of it we assume will be fire and EMS at that 0.4. That money will be segregated now to the fire department and not going through the general fund. So we shucked out all the expenses that you currently have built into the general township fund for fire protection, shoved them over to the fire side so that we could complete that bucket, both revenue and expenditure wise. And it does show that you should be able to fund the operations that you have going forward under that model. On the township and park side, you're still upside down. You're short like $1.1 million a year. So it's not sustainable. However, you have good cash enough to, in this model, take you through 2032. But, it's not going to be sustainable going forward. One of the things that was put in place in the 2025 legislation and stays there today is there's a section in there that talks about any recipient of the new lit can reallocate part or all of their lit to another governmental entity in the county for services provided for that other governmental entity or for the one that is giving the allocation out. And what that says to me is the county council could pick winners and losers of income tax. The county council, I do not think will need anywhere near the 1.2% that they're allowed under this current statute for income tax receipts. If they only need, say, like a 0.8, they could impose like a 0.9, create another pool of money and say, hey, I need to give this amount to Washington Township Parks because they serve a large group of our county and we want to continue to provide those services. I think that's a viable option. I think that's a reasonable option for, the large community that you're currently serving on behalf of the county. So it might be a good ask. And I think at this point in time, there is a big push. There's another, it's not a mandate, but it's a encouragement of getting local units of government in the county to start talking about income tax and what that distribution should look like. So I think from your perspective, it would probably be good as you interact with your county council people and county commissioners to continue to articulate what it is that you're providing in service to that large segment of the county, particularly through Parks and Rec, and that you may actually need more than what they're going to be able to give you in a statutory formula. One other thing, on a couple days ago, we had a meeting with Representative Thompson and Representative Snow, and a couple things came out of that. In the 26 legislation, and then I think it was prior to that, maybe 25s or 24s, they have started to assign what they believe is a rate all in for fire and EMS, because they've set fire territories, now they've set fire districts. And we clarified this in this week's meeting with representatives that they envision every unit of government is going to have a maximum rate cap, so that the total district rate, which would be all the units of government that serve taxpayers, does not exceed $3, but for referenda. And the thought is that you will be able to eliminate almost all of the circuit breaker losses, which are those 1%, 2%, and 3% tax cap losses, if you get basically 1% property at 1%, 2% at 2%, 3% at 3%, which a $3 tax rate would do. And it will eliminate almost all of that circuit breaker. To do that, though, the legislature is going to have to decide, okay, what percent or what amount of that $3 rate goes to a county, goes to a city, goes to a town, goes to a school. They have coalesced around 40 cents for fire and EMS, and we clarified that that is to include debt and CUNE. So we can't solve the rest of the income tax model, but from your side in the township, that fire and EMS portion, we could probably nail that down. We talked about if units of government start above that amount, which based on the fiscal plan that we've run, you would be above that amount. How would we get down to the 40 cents? And their answer was, we'll have a long runway. I asked what a long runway was, and they said probably 5 to 6 years. So I think we at least have parameters now of a speculative what we think that looks like. And we could remodel that for you, but we haven't. And one of the comments from Representative Thompson was, well, you can only model what's in the law today, which is what we always practice. Because I know he's told us before that he has the votes he believes to get this done, but they didn't get this done in 25 when they revamped all the property taxes and income taxes with a grand plan of everything needs to fit under this $3 tax rate. Don't want to throw good money after bad. Don't know if you want a model that shows that speculative that you're going to be capped at 40 cents debt and CUNE and see how your new fire station debt potentially would fit into that, how we would get from where we're at down to 40 cents in 5 to 6 years. If so, I wanted to kind of walk through some of the assumptions of that exercise as well, because we've been real conservative with assessed value growth. I don't know if we need to be more lenient on that based on history. And the reason I went conservative is we've not seen a recession in the longest time. And I feel like there will be one certainly that happens at some point in time. Will it happen between now and 2032? I don't know, which is, what we've modeled at this point. Another alternative to kind of think about and hash around is if you have to have a fire station and you're going to have to be at a certain rate 6 years from today or 6 years from the next legislative session. What would I do to get both of those things? Well, I would build a fire station and I would only amortize the debt 6 years. It would be a heavy tax rate where normally you're doing a 20-year debt repayment because the building lasts 30 years and you're only allowed a maximum of 20 years. But in a situation like that where we had a political deadline that we had to hit, you could amortize it as short as you want. Would impact circuit breakers in that time period, but again, that would get you a new station that you need and potentially hit your mark 6 years into the future. Again, they said 5 to 6 years. Is that 7 to 10 years by the time they hash it all out? I don't know. Not sure how far we want to go down that rabbit hole and what makes you the most comfortable. That's kind of the big picture overview. I can walk through these individually if you want. I know you've been through it multiple times. But those are kind of the highlights out of the whole plan at this point. Better off than where we thought we were last year. But still a lot of unknowns and unknowns that you are definitely not going to see a vote on income tax before the summer of 28. So we're 2 years away from that known, which will decide what your income tax distribution looks like. And as for this rate that you're going to be capped at, don't know how far off into the future it is, whether they can get it through in the 27 session. I would assume it's 27 because it's a long session. I don't think they could get through that bloodbath in 2028 as a short session. Because again, you're going to have everybody there, counties, cities, towns, other special taxing districts, schools, all crying for their portion of that $3 rate.
Question for you. You've been through, I guess, 2 legislative sessions now. Came out of the first one and they were going to fix some things and then they did more work this time. I mean, how much more change do you see? I know we don't always have a crystal ball, but are they heading in the right direction, or do you anticipate more changes or more extensions of some of these things?
I would definitely anticipate more changes because one of the things that this income tax committee that is supposed to meet and issue a report by October 1 back to the state is all cities, towns, and the county to talk about just a wide open discussion. What should an income tax distribution actually look like? What would solve all of our problems? So to me, that tells me the legislature, they're probably not thrilled with what it is they've put out there today. They're looking for a better mousetrap for somebody to bring to them. And maybe they're going to say, okay, you can pick from these, or maybe they're just going to give these as examples and say, hey, you have to draft a distribution formula of all these income taxes, which, it's nice to have a blank palette, but in a lot of counties, that's going to be tough to make that decision. And I've got multiple county clients, and the discussion we keep having is, are we going to just replace the income taxes that everybody lost? Are we going to replace the income taxes and property taxes that they lost due to this legislation? And are we going to entertain other communities that have like fast growing and need parks or recreations unfunded? In most of the analysis I've done so far, libraries keep coming up unfunded. Are we going to make special exceptions for those that don't fit within the law the way it's written? And again, in counties, and I always tell people this because I've had a lot of these discussions, when it comes to that final vote, the last thing the county council always says to the people sitting in the crowd that are getting the income tax revenue, those units of government, is, we just couldn't raise any more on the taxpayers. And you're just going to have to do with less. So it will be hard for them in the summer of 28 to adopt something above and beyond what's just going to get everybody to a point that the county council believes is the minimum service level, but provides the service that's required or requested. So I think there will be a lot of changes. And I think we'll even have changes in that short session of 2028 to tweak things that didn't get done in 27. So I really think we don't know what this looks like until after that 28 session ends.
Any other questions? Okay, it's better, but not. What's that? Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Do you want a model? And what exactly do we want to model? Do we want that it's 40 cents, that it's a 6-year landing zone to get to that?
I mean, a 6-year makes sense.
And I was thinking the 40 cents also does,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
Okay, so 6-year phase in.
With state reps that we went to, he said 6 years. He had previously told us tax and what conservative states. But he had also, counted.
Okay, and then debt wise, a couple things that, potentially could happen in debt. If you're just looking at the project that you're doing right now, the firehouse plus the debt that you have outstanding under the assumptions that we just talked about would not produce a rate for debt above 10 cents, which means your next debt would not automatically go to referenda. Do we want to assume just this firehouse and approximate cost for it, or do you want to add in the training center as well? Do you want me to add the training center potentially into a future year, 27-ish? And why I'm laying that first part out is, if what you were going to do with the fire station would have put you above 10 cents and made the next debt a mandatory referenda, I would have you think more thoroughly about combining those projects together, doing them all in 1 year so that you didn't automatically hit the referenda threshold. And then your next debt would be whenever it shows up, nothing anticipated. But today, I think you've got room that you could spread those out into different years if you want to do them with two different debt insurances and two completely separate projects in separate years. But they will impact the tax rate, and it'll impact my phase in.
Yeah, but Mike, this plan right here includes people and projects that we've talked about in total.
Yeah.
That I've ever brought up. So whenever you ask about the when does it stop, this is modeling the finish line. And I can try to make stuff up, it'd be hard.
So assume both kind of as we have it laid out in the fiscal plan.
I think that would be smart, yes.
Okay. Last part is in the NAV model that we put together, you had received information from the school that they assumed Washington Township to be built out by 2030.
One we talked about for a while, we
Yeah.
started talking about evening or even declining enrollment.
Mhm.
Some of the things they put out in their public statements.
Is that true? Is that feasible? That seems like a lot of area.
I think, well, I think their assumption is a lot of us old folks find Washington Township a nice place to be. And so houses aren't being available to young childbearing families. And so a lot of, the age base is going up just
Okay.
because of.
So you're going
of
to age
that,
you're going to age in place.
Right.
So you're not flipping your house into new families. But we're not really going to build out everything in Washington Township by 2030, right? Because what I'm thinking is, and I kind of flipped that around in my head when you were saying that the school says that, I had that very thought that, yes, Avon's a great community. The old people are going to stay here even though they don't have kids. But I don't think that means that they're not going to continue to build new houses, and they're just not going to add as many kids, because you'll probably even have older people that move to Avon for its amenities
Mhm.
to age here.
Yeah, and I had heard 2036 when you look at actual land per se at the building rate that was occurring. But I think that probably slowed because of birth rates kind of going in this direction. So that may have been I don't know. Build out is
I think they're talking about school population.
Yeah.
Build out. So
I
Right.
agree. That's what I
Yes.
would see it as.
I-
Like school population is going to peak
The,
and
the,
start dropping
the
off.
presentation, Jeff, that I heard from the professional that the school brought in was more of population mix, not so much housing being like you said, build out.
Okay. So what I'm going to do for 2031 and 2032, I'm going to continue this model that we talked about.
Yeah.
Just because I can't see capping it there because I don't believe it to be true.
Yeah, and I think those projections are probably a little bit on, with birth rates changing, I think those numbers of build out was based on run rate, if you will, of what was happening before. I don't think it's happening. I mean, a lot of schools are worried that they're not gonna, I'm not saying Avon is, but there are schools that are worried about being overbuilt, universities being overbuilt. So,
Very good. We will work through that and report back. Thank you.
Thank you.
okay, next up, Henderson County Community Foundation, Huron North Lawn, Henderson County Community Foundation.
I'm sorry?
Community Foundation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry. Huron North Lawn Cemetery Fund.
Before I jump into that one, my microphone's really turned up. Before I jump into that one, made reference to a meeting we had earlier this week down at the State House where Representative Thompson invited us to meet with he and Representative Snow there in the office of the chairman of the House Ways and Means, which anytime you can go to the State House, that's just a really cool building. So that in and of itself is fun. But we were able to get Jeff Peters to go in there with us. I just want to thank those guys publicly and on record for giving us the opportunity to have two state representatives that have a tremendous amount of influence over the entire budget of the state of Indiana to want to invite us into their world just to sit down and have a back and forth conversation about different ideas and different thoughts. Certainly appreciative of that with those two. So I wanted to make sure that I did point that out. I felt walking out of there that, there's nothing that we said in there that we can say for sure, oh, they're going to change things because of this is what we said. We at least had constructive dialogue, and I don't know what else you could ask in that instance. So certainly appreciative of that. So, and thank you, Jeff, for being able to go down there with us because obviously it gives you an opportunity to ask, very specific questions in regards to what our future plans could look like based off of some of the things that those elected officials are thinking. So certainly nice to have you able to join us. And then Jeff Bellamy, thank you as well. We had a kind of a pre-meeting, the meeting before the meeting, where we, again, just putting all of our heads together. Hey, we have this opportunity. Let's make best use of our time. What questions should we be asking? And so, again, we've got great guys that we contract with here. Certainly appreciate the team that we've got. And again, appreciate the opportunity to get downtown and have that conversation. So with that, moving on to the Henderson County Community Foundation, as you mentioned. So I believe we had talked about it previously. I flipped through some of our previous agendas and I couldn't find it, but it certainly could still be there. We found out, I guess, a little over a year ago, the North Lawn Cemetery, which was over by Town Hall, was named in the will of a Mrs. Huron and the Huron family. You may have heard the name previously. If you did not know the family from around town, the library expansion, the big construction project that they have going on is largely, if not wholly, paid for by the same will. So she was a big supporter of the library, of the school corporation. There's going to be a substantial scholarship, permanent scholarship in the Huron family name as well. But we were contacted from the Henderson County Community Foundation letting us know that the North Lawn Cemetery was named in that will as well. And there is substantial money that has been bestowed to that long-term care and maintenance of that cemetery. So I want to make sure that I brought that up to the board here. That's certainly a cemetery, being kind of a history nerd anyway, to be able to go through and look at some of the headstones and to learn a little bit through the library, through Susie Truex and about the people that are buried there is neat for me to begin with. But that cemetery sitting on the hill the way it does can be a focal point as people are driving down Rockville Road through our area here. So to have funding available in a time where some of the funding is uncertain moving forward, that's certainly something that we're very appreciative of. I felt it was prudent to make sure that I mentioned that to you all as well. that we will be using those funds to not only take care of lawn maintenance, for example, but hopefully be able to actually have some improvements there as that money continues to collect year over year. Maybe we can afford what I would like to see at least, maybe a more permanent or a decorative fencing versus the split rail that we've always had previously. Again, being a focal point in a prominent area within our community, I think that's the least we could do to give that the respect that it needs. So again, felt it prudent to make sure that I brought that up to you all today.
Okay, next up, Avon Education Foundation request.
So as you all know, I believe it was in 2023, my second year in office, I made a request to the Township Board that as we continue to do the community assistance agreements, I had to make sure I use the right word there for the legal. As we continue to do community service agreements, I wanted to bring those to the board in the last quarter of the year, specifically the November, December timeframe, so we don't get ourselves in a situation again where we are giving away money early in the year only to do a reappropriation of money later in the year. You all agreed to that. Since then, our other community partners have gotten on board with that. AEF has been one holdout for us. And that's simply because of the timing of their Supply It Forward drive. And I talked with Chris, the new executive director there. She's been great to work with so far. And I kind of explained the situation to her because she says, hey, hey, Ryan, we're preparing for the Supply It Forward drive, but looking through the books as she continues to get settled in her new role, looking at the books, I don't see that we've gotten anything from Washington Township yet. So I was able to take advantage of an opportunity to get her up to speed on, hey, this is the why, knowing that if we waited until November or December to give them money this year, they're really going to be in a jam for the Supply It Forward drive for 2026. So what I told her is go ahead and send the request to me early. I will take it to the board. I told her I can't make any promises. That's completely a decision up to you all to make. We'll see what we can do to maybe try to help with the Supply It Forward drive for 2026. I asked her to again come back and see me in December. Like, let's get on the same schedule with everybody else, so that way we don't keep running into this, year after year. She thought that was great. And again, previously they had come to us early, and then they were like, we don't want to come back and ask you this the second time in the same year. Forget about that. Like, come and see me in December and November. Let's get on the same schedule. So she understands that now. So that's what brings this request in front of you today, much earlier than I would typically like to bring these to you. But again, this is a project that we have supported for several years now. We do have a good working relationship with Avon Education Foundation, and I wanted to bring this to you for your consideration to see if there were any funds available that we would be able to support this project for them. And Ashley's looking up. Ashley's looking up.
We have money, excess money for this year in the budget. I'm not 100% sure. We've been having some really large utility bills that we've been paying. But, we have cash. We can do an additional appropriation at the end of the year if need be. We did, about a month or so ago, we got our first, that I can recall, Social Security reimbursement. So people are waiting for Social Security to come through. We can pay their bills, and if they sign an agreement and get part of their sum back. The first time we've gotten one in a long time, and it was a hefty amount. It was about $16,000 we got back. So, there is cash if that's something you guys want to do. There just might be an additional appropriation later on in the year.
And that's kind of the conundrum that we're in. Is utilities are outrageous for a lot of folks. The rent in our area certainly is substantial for a lot of folks. So our township assistance line, as you see month after month, actually comes up and says, staying steady, staying steady. We still have a lot of folks coming in. These are the same folks that are going to Mary Lee Mayer. These are the same folks that are going to the Supply It Forward School Drive. So just as our needs are not diminishing from community requests, their needs are not diminishing either. And that really is the conundrum of, how do we balance that? But again, having conversations with Ashley on, hey, what funds are available? What different options do we have? Ashley and I have the advantage of being able to then punt the final decision over to you guys to be able to have whatever other discussions. But yeah, certainly, that's just the world we live in and the community we live in where, some folks are certainly struggling, and we're doing what we can to provide assistance for them here in the areas that we can provide assistance. But as we've discussed before, school supplies. Well, we're not going to do our own school supply drive because why would we compete with something that already exists, which was the whole point of these community assistance agreements way back when Trustee Hodson started them forever ago. So that's what brings us here. So
I guess, and that there is no specific dollar amount asked in that?
correct. Previously, they have asked for specific amounts. I think knowing the background story, Chris was hesitant to maybe put a specific number on there. I believe if you
In
can,
24, we gave them 10,000, and in 23, we gave them 12. And then they didn't get any last year.
Oh, they didn't get any last year.
They didn't request it.
I see.
Oh, I'd forgotten.
yeah, I thought we had done something last year as well, but well, that's a surprise to all of us. Is that one? Okay.
Here's a timing thing. I think there's changing leadership and that kind of stuff. So I think that kind of stuff impacted that. When we say we apportion funds that we get short at the end, what is the amount of that fund that's called from? Previously, I thought that was something like 400. So
That's why I remember.
okay.
249 is what's in their current.
Closer to what Steve wins. I'm going over.
So amount of 10,000 wouldn't be out of line based upon history. So I think I would consider that as an amount to float for right now as far as.
Yeah, I mean, I won't necessarily say with the amount, but I think when we look at impact wise, the families that may be coming and asking for assistance, there's going to be funds that are folks that don't have the money and don't qualify in between. So there's going to be that. I think when you look at the impact of providing school supplies, and it's a lot of kids that this impacts. And Trustee is correct in that if we were to do it ourselves, it makes 0 sense, and you have the added cost and certainly lack of efficiencies and all that kind of thing. I full disclosure, I will not vote. My wife's on the board and that kind of thing, so I think that's obviously I won't vote on that. I probably shouldn't even talk on it, but that being said, I think the impact is great, and that number of kids. So if it's 10, I think is the minimum. I think when you look at increased impact, increased school size, increased need, it may need to go more than that. But again, I'm probably talking more than I should. But oh well. And the only reason I say oh well is because I say that because of the impact it makes to those kids that need it. It's not. There's no advantage in any other way. There's no disadvantage to the township. I think there's only advantage to making the community better by getting those kids the supplies they need so that they don't feel the anxiety of not having that while sitting in a classroom and not saying something to somebody. No different than the the free and reduced lunch. There's a lot of kids that don't apply for free and reduced lunch out of pride and concern with that, and really their families should. And so, again, I'm probably talking way too much, but I could go on and on. I just think I feel strongly about the program. I feel the impact. If you're there, if you have the time to volunteer and see it, it's a lot of kids that it really makes a positive impact on. So, and I don't know what better way to spend funds. I'm gonna shut up now.
Well, and you said, so we paid 10,000 in 23, 12,000 in 24.
2024, 12,000.
Oh, it was 12 and then it went down 10. Okay. Okay, because I was,
So in 23, they asked for it about this time, and then that's when we switched everything towards the end of the year. And in 24, it was at the end of the year.
Which I think the thought was the 24 was for 25, and that's probably where the confusion started.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I didn't, with that correction, I'm comfortable with like a 10,000 amount for us to provide to them with this ask right now.
So I don't have a written resolution for this, bringing it to the board, kind of on the calendar than we're used to. I would like to see, okay, I know you have to abstain, but I would like to try to get a motion second.
I agree.
For approval for us to then proceed moving forward with this.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dave.
I'll make a motion that we authorize $10,000 toward the Avon Educational Foundation.
I second.
All in favor? I will abstain.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. And again, we just, please understand that we should expect something from Avon Education Foundation again later in the year. And that's simply at my request to get them back on the same schedule with the other entities that we worked positively with in the past as well. So,
Good.
Thank you all.
Yep.
Parks and Recreation proposal.
So this next item is a packet of information that I've provided to each of you at this point. This is done at, had a couple conversations with different members from the town of Avon. And some of the questions that we've had was talking more about the collaboration of the different parks departments that we have and what opportunities we have as we as we continue to talk about funding and continued funding for the township, for the fire department, for the Parks and Recreation Department that we have moving forward. As I've mentioned a number of times previously, we're going to look at any and every possible opportunity to find cost savings so that we can continue all of the great programs that we're doing moving forward. And so we've had a number of different things, conversations both in and out of board meetings of, hey, different ideas of where we can chip away at this, where we can chip away at that. I don't know if there would be a cost savings by having a collaboration between the two parks, but I'd sure like to find out if there is. And so what we've got is a written proposal, just a very rough first draft version of, hey, what could this look like? And so this is something that Laura and I were able to sit down and have some discussions about. This is something that we believe is going to be brought up to the town council in its entirety at their next workshop. And so I want to make sure that we had a copy of this put in front of you all as well. We're not asking for any decisions to be made. At this point, I want you to review this if you have an opportunity. Certainly jot down any questions that you might have. If there's anything that you think you may or may not be comfortable with, certainly make notes, scratch things out, and let's come back and sit down and talk about this more again. Kind of in our opinion, through the conversations we've had, the next logical step is going to be, let's find out what the costs look like and if there's some savings and is this even really worth our time. And so what we would like to do, and I know Laura's already working on that, is just to get some rough quotes on what a financial study would look like and what that would cost for us. What we would like for them to do is have an outside independent contractor come in pull our budget, look at everything that we're doing, pull their budget, look at everything their parks department is doing, and then help us write a business plan and give us an idea of what that's gonna look like, the different positions available, what that's going to cost, what that could potentially cost each of the entities if we were to enter into some sort of a permanent collaboration and then move forward from there. So again, not asking for any approvals today. Please take a look at this at your leisure, start to digest it, start to come up with some questions. I'd like to come back to you in July, if not July, then August. And I'll be asking you, again, assuming everybody else feels that the same way, I'll ask for approval to see about getting a financial study done and actually moving forward to see if this will be worth our time even beyond that. So that's what I've got for that proposal today. We're going to take a look, and if you have questions along the way, feel free to reach out to Laura.
Yes. Yep, good copies. All right. If we were to do the study, are you anticipating that this would be something, cost would be shared? Or we're kind of approaching them?
To be determined.
Okay,
Yeah, and certainly, you know, we need to find out what the study is going to cost. If it's an outrageous amount, then we have decisions we have to make. But certainly, I'm willing to come to the table and say, you know, hey, this is important to us. This is something that, again, as we look at our future budgets and what forecasting looks like we need to know if we pay for a study for them to come back and say, oh, no, this is going to cost you so much more money. Well, we know, okay, let's stop wasting our time and move on to plan B. But if there is some benefit to that, then I wouldn't mind sharing, or if we had to eating the cost to make that happen.
I know we're not voting on anything like that, but I think it's a great idea. I think it's, how long have we been on the board?
7.5 years.
wow.
It's 25 years in the making. No, I'm kidding. I mean, 7 years ago, we thought it was, that was not 6, 7, pretty kind of jokes, but it was stated to, it made sense back then. I wish we would have started it back then. We proposed it back then. Not all parties were interested in entertaining that, interlocal and all that kind of jazz makes sense. I think time was wasted, and the cost of time is high, and I think this is long overdue. So when you say bring it back, and as fast as we can make it happen within the timelines, I think is important, because I think it sends the right message to our community, the folks paying taxes, to the folks who say we should consolidate or we shouldn't consolidate. We can't do something like this, then those kind of things are kind of moot points, and this makes basic sense.
Mhm.
And we've got an excellent park system.
Yeah.
You know, the town of Avon park system, they're doing a lot of great things as well. If we can, you know, work together, if we can complement each other instead of, we don't compete with each other, but there are events that inevitably get stacked on top of each other. But certainly, if we can work in collaboration together,